Thank you, Drew. Good afternoon, everybody. First off, before I start, Ryan, who gave a fantastically inspirational talk, didn't get any applause. So I'd like to just give it up for him. It's super interesting. And it's not because you didn't want to, it was because you guys were hungry. And Drew booted him off early. All right. So today, I'm going to talk about 9 ways to start a side project. And I'm going to talk specifically about 2 side projects that spawned out of each other, kind of. But before I do that, you guys don't know much about me, so I'm going to talk a little bit about me. So I love art. I love making art. I love looking at art. I've been drawing my entire life. That's me and my grandfather, who was also an artist. And I'm just super passionate about art. Growing up, no video games in our house. It was always markers, crayons, sketchbooks, and paint. And I took art classes my entire childhood. And this would shape not only what I'm doing now, but, well, you'll see. I'm also very fascinated with technology and how stuff works. This is me and my dad's laptop, 1989, and just fascinated with how stuff works and technology, taking things apart, really into Legos, and just loved it. Another thing that shaped who I am today is my 10 years as a professional clown. This is me and my mom and my dad. And very unique growing up with 2 parents that are professional clowns. Birthday parties, special events, balloons, face painting, juggling. And at 10 years old, I wasn't forced into it. I just kind of wanted to learn the family business. And so never really flipped any burgers between 10 years old and 20 years old. Did hundreds and hundreds of birthday parties, and it really helped me learn how to think on my feet and call potential parties and book parties on the phone. And by 16, I was doing my own, driving and going to my own shows and performing. And I really learned very quickly what people wanted, and working a crowd and audiences, and this would actually, all that experience would lead into my later life when I was crafting digital audiences. So I took my skills and went from there. So I'm from New York City, by the way, and I've been living there for a little over 10 years. And I went to a Pratt Institute and studied film animation, going into more creative projects. And I started looking at internships and job opportunities, and I ended up at this very small animation production studio called Frederator. Has anyone heard of Frederator? There we go. So I was working at Frederator in the New York City office, and wanted to learn about animation producing. And it was this big, beautiful, open office space with amazing art on the wall. And Fred, who worked there, he had all these creative people renting desks. And there was this small little corner with 3 guys, and this guy named David Karp was hanging out there. And this was early 2006. And everyone was super creative and super friendly, and we would have lunch together. And David was like, oh, I'm working on this new thing. It's a blogging service. And I was like, well, I'm already on Blogger. What do I need your thing? What is it called? He's like, oh, it's called Tumblr. And I was like, that's stupid. We're trying to be Flickr. You're trying to be cool. Drop the E. And he's like, no, it's really cool. It's fun. I'm going to invite you. And I was like, all right. So he sends me an invite, and I don't open it. I don't click on it for like a month. He comes back around to my desk. And he's like, oh, Lee, what do you think of Tumblr? And I'm like, David, haven't signed up. He's like, dude, test it out, man. Need your eyes on it. So he told me to sign up. I signed up, and from that moment on, I never touched Blogger. Instantly got it. This is what Tumblr looked like early 2007. Very basic. You could only follow people and publish your art, and I instantly got it. I'm not a writer, and so Blogger felt like so much work. Here, he broke it down to very easy post types, and as an artist, I wanted to share my work, and it was very quick to post my art without knowing how to code a website. And so I was enamored by it, and after using it for a couple months, my buddy and I, who worked in the same space, Ben Ross, who was also drawing and being creative, were like, oh, we want a space that we can share. And I was like, all right, you mean like a gallery where we post our art? And he's like, sure. So we called this shared Tumblr Eat, Sleep, Draw, and that's what it looked like in early 2008. And it was awesome. And I'd get all these people emailing me, hey, I love Eat, Sleep, Draw. I want to post my artwork. And I went back to David, and I'm like, David, other people, can I invite other people? He's like, oh, you mean like multiple authors? And I was like, yeah. So a week later, he came back with multiple authors on a Tumblr. And it was great. I signed up all my friends. They started posting their artwork at all different times, and I finally had my online art gallery with all my friends. And we developed a huge following very quickly, and it was kind of rare because it was this new service, and maybe had 75,000 active users a couple months after it launched, but people just really, really loved what we were doing on our Tumblr. So little time passes, and I get emails, hundreds of emails every day, being like, oh, I want to post my art, I want to post my art. So I go back to David, and I'm like, David, I can't sign people up for Tumblr and have them post and teach them how to do it. Can't you just like build a thing to, have people submit their art, and if we like it, we'll post it? And he's like, oh, you mean like public submissions? And I'm like, yeah. A week later, he came back with public submissions. And I was in a very rare spot where I could get what I wanted, but not abuse it. And I was like, okay, how far can I take this? So he created this tool for us, and for about 6 months, we were the only blog on Tumblr that had a user submission tool, and we would get emails, again, saying, how did you hack Tumblr? What's going on? And I was like, oh, we're testing this thing. And it was really simple. And I made sure that David built it in a way that you didn't have to be a member of Tumblr to submit your artwork. You just go to the eatsleepdraw.com/submit, and no login, no sign up, upload your piece of art, link to whatever you want, and it was like magic. So this is Eat, Sleep, Draw today. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. We're the largest user-submitted art blog on Tumblr. We have close to 500,000 daily followers on Tumblr. And what I think is more impressive is we receive almost 1,100 pieces of art every week. And as a side project, it's just an amazing wealth of inspiration. And we don't think of it as a blog anymore. We think of it as a finely curated art gallery. We publish once an hour, every hour, 24 hours a day, every day. In 6.5 years, we published over 50,000 pieces of art. We've been very lucky to be mentioned in the New York Times Magazine, Wired UK Magazine, Huffington Post. But regardless of all those mentions, my favorite is from one of our people that had a fantastic quote. I don't remember who it is, but they said, Eat, Sleep, Draw is a marvelous fountain of art. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what it should be. So I'm going to show you some of my favorite pieces. And these are from all people from all over the world that are in various levels of skill and style. And it's just so humbling that we get the opportunity to take a look at their art before anyone else. Just really, really beautiful stuff. Professionals, amateurs. This is my favorite. I don't know if you can see it. It's like a buffalo. It's kind of dark. show it to you later. So it's just like amazing that this thing exists. But it wouldn't exist without some help. And these are people that run the site. That's me and my buddy Anthony Lamberti and my sister helped out. They're all creative people, and they all have day jobs. Tony is a toy designer at Nickelodeon, and my sister is she works at a fashion company in Boston, and she does design. So Tony's our executive editor. He looks at every single piece of art on the site. So if you want, you can email him and butter him up if you want to have your art on the site. A little bit about my sister. She's super talented, and she had a startup job before she even graduated from college. She worked at Rue La La, and she's just super creative, super talented. And so that is a good transition into the second side project, which is one day she calls me up and she's like, oh, do you think your fiance would like this new thing called Birchbox? And I was like, what is Birchbox? Anyone know what it is? Yeah. OK. For those who don't know what it is, it's a monthly subscription to sample-sized cosmetics, like $10 a month, and they send you all this stuff. And my sister called me up, and she's like, oh, do you think Lauren is my fiance, do you think Lauren would like that? And I was like, yeah, she would love that. Her favorite store is Sephora. Totally perfect gift for her. Is there anything like that for me? And she's like, you want lotions? And I was like, no. Is there like an art box? That sends you cool art supplies in the mail. And so we did some research, and there's this whole industry of subscription boxes. There's subscription box resource guides that you can download. And it's this whole crazy industry. The majority of them are beauty boxes, trying to steal some thunder from Birchbox. But there are other ones as well, like BarkBox for your dog, and I don't know, you get paper samples, you get, I don't know, there's like a jerky subscription, you get jerky. And so I was like, is there anything close to like an art subscription? And my sister was like, no, but there's this craft subscription box. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want that. I'm not a craft guy. I want like cool pens and paint and markers and stuff like that. And we're thinking about it, and we're like, okay, why are all these beauty boxes so successful? And I was like, well, they're kind of the same thing. Why don't we just make a box? Why don't we make an art box? And she's like, really? And I was like, yeah. Aren't cosmetics just art supplies for your face? And she was like, yeah. So first point I want to make in terms of choosing a side project is you don't have to go crazy. You just steal your business model. Just steal it. It's fine. It works great for all these other subscription boxes, so why don't we just steal it? And so that's one way to pick a side project is pick a niche that's deep and narrow, and try to steal their business model. Deep meaning something people are super passionate about, and narrow meaning very specific. So we did some research, and we're like, okay, what does a art supply subscription box look like? What does it look like? We know what all these beauty boxes look like. They come with 4 or 5 items, some literature about each item. And I'm trying to think like what I would like. And I love art supplies. Ever since I was a little kid, walking to the art store, just wanted to try everything. So how do we boil down that experience into a box that you receive every month? So we did some research, and we got some box samples. This is a GIF of my sister over my place, trying to figure out, how would we wrap it? What would the box look like? And okay, we kind of know what we want in terms of a box. Okay, let's do some explorations with a name and a logo. And so she designed the logo, super talented logo. And so, yeah, we came up with this thing called Art Snacks. And my sister was in charge of the art direction and all the creative stuff, and I was in charge of, okay, how do we make this thing work? And that's how I ran into Drew, actually. We run on the Plaso payment system, and it works great. So there's some laydowns, as she would call in the industry. Beautiful. So we're trying to like kind of be a little bit different. What kind of experience do we want? What kind of feeling? What kind of emotion do we want? How do you make art supplies look sexy? Well, you float them. Float them up, make them look cool. And so yeah, we settled on this this Art Snacks. Bless you. Yeah, so it's a monthly serving of the best art supplies. We bought the domain .co, and that's what the box looks like. And I was all stressing out. I was like, okay, how do they print on the boxes? So I was like, oh, we'll just stamp it ourselves. And so for about 3 months, we kind of incubated like what it would look like, and going back and forth on how are we going to market it. And my sister's like, no, dummy. You just got to make sure it works. And you just blog it on Eat, Sleep, Draw and hope people sign up. And I was like, you're absolutely right. But before we launched, I wanted to make sure that my soon-to-be wife, now wife, Lauren, was okay with this, starting a subscription box company in New York City in a one-bedroom apartment. And so I sat her down and I was like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right, and it might be crazy, it might get cramped in here. And she was like, no problem, whatever you need, we'll make it work. And it's kind of crazy. 2013 was kind of crazy. We started this company, and 8 months later, we were supposed to get married, and so there was a definite deadline of, if it's going to work in this time period. So we did our first month pre-sale, and people were like, oh, 4 or 5 items. And so we started getting boxes, and it got kind of crazy. I learned how to build boxes very fast. And first month went out, and second month went out, and started filling those boxes, and it just started growing month over month. This is actually the day after my bachelor party. The deal was that if we were going to go away, then the day after we came back, we got to come back and wrap boxes. And they're like, no problem. And then this is our apartment with hundreds of boxes. Hundreds and hundreds of boxes. A little bit of our progress. Just stacks like Jenga. I got really good at shipping stuff without a car, schlepping hundreds of boxes to the local post office is. You get like a side door, and then you just roll it in, and they just know you as a pencil guy. So when starting a side project, another thing to think about is how you can hack the user experience. And I know a lot of people here are user experience junkies in terms of the web, and I consider myself pretty literate, but not an expert. But how do you hack the user experience when it comes to physical experience, a physical user experience? And one choice that we made very quickly when starting this company is the size of the box. The size of the box is very, actually I have it here. Ooh. So this is the box. It's very linear. 2 inches by 2 inches by 9 inches long. And we want to be different. I think we're the smallest subscription box in terms of volume of the box. And part of this is engineering the user experience, because if someone subscribes to our service and they wait an entire month and they get a little slip in their mailbox to go pick up at the post office, that is a terrible user experience. So we designed it so it fits in almost all mailboxes. And we got lucky because it fits into not only 90% of all mailboxes in America, but 90% of all art products are basically roughly the same size. Another way to hack a user experience that we thought about is what happens when you open the box? What do you see? Well, we came up with this idea of we wanted someone to do something very specific once they open their box. And I don't know if you can see, there's a sticker on there. And it says, share your unboxing with us. And lo and behold, people listen to that sticker. Every month, we get hundreds and hundreds of people showing us where their art products live. And it's just amazing. People listen to the sticker. And you give some people that are extremely creative tools, they're going to unwrap it extremely creatively. Someone did a stop motion of their art products unwrapping themselves. Another thing that I implore you to do is give people more than they expect. And we kind of have this thing where we want to surprise and delight our customers. And one thing that we thought about early on when it came to the name is, okay, let's give them a piece of candy. Make it art snacks. Have a little snack, try out your products. And so we don't advertise that we send candy. It just comes. And then people get it instantly. They're like, oh, of course, art snacks, candy. Another thing we do to surprise and delight is, I'll just read the quote. I received one, this is from one of our customers. I received one dried out pen out of 6 or 7 boxes I've received. And they immediately sent not just a replacement pen, but a whole second box. How can you beat that? And it's just great customer service. You wait an entire month, you want to try this really awesome pen that you've never seen before, and it's completely dry. Feel terrible. So we overnight them a replacement box. Another thing is you want to learn from your customers. And one thing that we picked up on very early, I think this was like the 2nd or 3rd month, is this person, I believe this is the original post, created a piece of art using only the items that we sent them. And they used the hashtag #ArtSnacksChallenge. And so we adopted that hashtag, and we put it on all of our marketing material in the box. And every month, people take the Art Snacks Challenge, and they try to create an original piece of art using only the items that we send. And just mind-blowing stuff, just super amazing to capture that moment of inspiration when someone opens the box. Here's a few more. It's not what you make, it's how you make people feel. And that goes back to my experience clowning for 10 years. People can get caught up in analytics and user flows and stuff like that. But in the end, the internet is people. And you want to send them something that's emotional, that have emotional attachment. And one thing I've learned, kind of a little side note, is that anything emotional has a smell. It's really, bear with me for a second. All emotional things have smells. And when I was a kid walking to the art store for the first time, the art store has a very specific smell. It's like wood mixed with charcoal and a little bit of, paint. And so a couple other things that have very specific smells that are emotional are coffee shops. As soon as I say coffee shops, you get that aroma. It's mentally just ingrained in you. Another thing that's super emotional and gets people to feel something is hardware stores. Very specific smell. Next time you go into a hardware store, you'll notice. Brand new cars have emotional smells. Mac laptops, brand new Mac laptop. Very specific smell. I mean, look at the perfume and cologne industry. Their entire industry is built on this concept of emotional connections and emotional transactions. And so here's a few of our emotional transactions. Go to YouTube, type in Art Snacks Unboxing, and you'll be greeted with all these lovely customers. Another point I want to make is create something that you want. If you like it, chances are other people will like it also. And I think one quote that I grabbed was from the founder of OMG Pop. They did the Draw Something game before they were bought by Zynga. And he's got a great quote. Do what you love and put what you love into it, into what you do, and people will feel it. And so we basically, in terms of our marketing, we don't really pay for much marketing because we have a huge user base of 500,000 artists on Eat, Sleep, Draw, fueling this cyclical, get a box, make some art, post it, upload it, submit it to Eat, Sleep, Draw. But people notice, and it's great. The MoMA tweeted, unsolicited, what would you make if art supplies came to your door every month? And with a link. And it was just like totally blown away that they would pick up on this. Another point I want to make is all these side projects that I'm telling you about today, I've been doing it with a day job. So point 7 is don't quit your day job. Myself, my sister, and Tony all have full-time day jobs. And that's why they can't be here today. But you want to find time. You want to make it a priority. If you really, really want something, you will make it a priority. I have friends that are really big gamers, just casual gamers, but they spend a lot of time gaming. I have nothing against gaming. But if you enjoy something, you'll find time for it. They really enjoy playing video games. They find time for it. Another point is you want to get big slow if you have a day job. You want to get big slow. And everyone wants to be big. I want to be big. I want my side projects to eventually become my full-time job, but I'm just not there yet. Both Eat, Sleep, Draw and Art Snacks, we want to grow big and slowly over time. And without any funding, there's this great quote from Malcolm Gladwell, I can't outspend you, but I can outwork you. And it's from a great book, highly recommend it, called David versus Goliath. And that's kind of how I feel. No funding for a startup subscription box company for art supplies. And I kind of like it that way. And my final point is you want to surround yourself with people who make you better. Whether you're hiring somebody, whether you're dating somebody, whether you're living with somebody, working with somebody. And I really couldn't do any of these side projects without my wife, Lauren, Tony, Anthony, and my sister, my parents, my in-laws. And so when you set out to do your side projects and start your side projects, make sure you have a support system that will be in place before you start. And a perfect example of this is, she's going to hate me, but it's my wife. I don't know if you can see her. 6:30 in the morning, she's schlepping boxes with me. And this is 5 months before we're about to get married. And I'm just so lucky that she fully supports all of my side projects. So yeah, surround yourself with people who make you better. You can check us out, plug, eatsleepdraw.com, artsnacks.co. And I just want to open it up to Q&A. Thank you.
Great talk, Lee.
Thank you.
Do you ship internationally?
Yes.
Sweet. I'm on it then. Great. That was all.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah. And one more customer.
Awesome.
Anybody else?
Hands over there. Hands over there.
All right. I'll go right here first.
Thanks for sharing. How do you think you'll know when it can become a full-time thing? How will you know?
Definitely, everyone has a number in terms of where we need to be at for me to transition from my day job to my side projects. But yeah, I think I'll know. I don't know. Is there a second part of the question? Or?
No, I just wondered if it was like, is it because will it be like when it gets to a point where it's equal to the day job right now, or?
Yes. Plus, I want to build in some buffer.
Yeah.
The great thing about the deadline of getting married is that we scaled up in terms of growing our base. And the goal was to get it out of our apartment before we got married. And so about I don't know, 2 months in, I saw the potential and I started being like, okay, who can we get to help fulfill orders every month? And so I literally Googled who does Birchbox's fulfillment, found the company, cold called them, and was like, hey, here's our business. And he's like, okay, the minimum is 10,000 per day. And I'm like, what? I wish I had 10,000 a month. And I was like, oh, can you refer me to somebody? And he did, and that's who we went with. But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, there's a timeline. We'll see. We'll see. Thanks.
Going back to your point on don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
I'm both blessed and cursed with the fact that when I get home from my day job, my wife wants to tackle me. So, with love. But
right. I should hope, yeah.
Yeah. How do you go about setting aside time? Because my wife does something completely different than what I do, and I have
right.
a lot of side projects and stuff that I like to work on. But after working, I get home and I'm pretty tired. So how do you go about setting aside the appropriate time, and how do you discipline yourself like that?
Well, I mean, she's going to hate me for saying this, but she goes to bed pretty early. She works in the fashion industry. She's a technical designer, and she's talking to China all day and then measuring things, and so she's super tired. And so we usually have dinner, and then she kind of gets ready for bed. And then that's my time to do my thing, really. It's that 3 hours every night to answer everyone's emails, talk to the warehouse, and then figure out new stuff to do. So yeah, I set aside time every day I'm working on it. It's like I have a second job. In the back?
How do you keep your product line fresh month to month and keep people interested?
Yeah. So the first couple of months, we had some items that we really, really, just like to use. And one thing that we do is we test all the products before they even get close to our master list of month to month. And going back to Eat, Sleep, Draw, we really pride ourselves on curation and curating products that not only are super high quality, but work well together. So we make sure that if you're going to get a tube of paint from us, then you're definitely going to get a brush or a palette knife to use with it. Because we want people to as soon as you get the box, need nothing else except for maybe a piece of paper or a palette or something to use for creating. So yeah, we test all of them. They're super high quality products, and we've gotten to the point where we're buying directly from manufacturers 6 months ahead of time. They're like, oh, you want a custom color? And I was like, yes, I would love that. And it's kind of crazy. My neighbors, they're like, why do you get so many packages? And it's because all these manufacturers and brands coming out with new products, and they just ship it to us first before anyone else, before retail stores. That's another thing. I don't know if there's any other questions, but I could probably rant a little bit. Disrupting an industry like the art supply industry. I mean, early on, I'd call people, and their first question is, how many stores do you have? And I'm like, what? And I tell them and what we do, and they're like, so let me get this straight. You're just shipping people stuff, and they don't know what they're getting. And I was like, yeah, they trust us. And so tapping into the industry and trying to change that is just so fascinating. So yeah, I don't know. Another question? I love the questions.
Hey, this is a little bit tangential to your talk, but I was curious, you mentioned you'd spent 10 years clowning.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious if about other ways that comes out, or like you draw on that experience in your life or in your work.
It taught me to be really independent, actually. And with clowning, I mean, I can talk for hours about clowning, but when we have a few beers later, I'll tell you some clown stories. But it's just something that is a part of me. It was a part of me for such a long time. And when I was putting together this talk and really thinking about, what I did and how that fit into my life, and it's just entertaining people and making them happy. And one way I did that early on was clowning. And it's a lot of fun. It's like a great fallback to the fallback to the fallback job, because it doesn't leave you. I can, put an ad in paper or something and get parties around town, and I don't do that now. But it's one of those businesses that everyone's having a birthday every single day. And something like that, it's just something special. I don't know. Hopefully I answered your question. Two in the middle. Getting some work in for Drew, all right.
Hey, how you doing? What's the cost of the product, and does it vary month by month?
It does. I mean, we're not going to tell you exact margins, but we're buying it in bulk and wholesale, and we felt in charging $20 domestic, and we charge $30 international, and that's just to cover the customs costs. Yeah, I don't know if I can answer your question. It's our secret sauce, but we are buying them significantly less than what we're selling. I mean, that's the only way we could stay in business. And we feel that what we're bringing is unique enough in terms of a curation experience and a social layer that we feel comfortable charging what we charge.
Hey, how do you manage a successful side project with your current full-time employer? Like that ambiguousness of just like, it's getting more successful. When is he potentially going to leave?
Yeah. No, they know about it. I work in Manhattan at an amazing small nonprofit foundation, private nonprofit, and there's about 15 of us, and it's all health focused, and I'm associate creative director, and I'm their web guy. So I mean, I do all the WordPress installations and design, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, especially nonprofit. Like, I used to work at social media agencies and have all these clients, and it just coming from my background actually in clowning, being so independent, and then having to answer to all these people at all hours of the day, it drove me nuts. So great thing about a nonprofit job is anything is better than whatever the last guy did in terms of the web, because nonprofit websites are notoriously terrible. But yeah, they know about it. It doesn't interfere with my workday, and 5:30 rolls around, and everyone goes picks up their kids, and it's like, what, 5:30? I have all this other creative energy to spend time on, my side projects. So I am in a pretty rare situation in terms of a day job, but yeah, I don't disrespect my day job at all. Questions, comments, suggestions, donations? No, I'm joking.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, guys.